A pleasant day to each and everyone. I am Ariston John Joshua and we will be going to discuss about Chapter 13 Rizal in Japan. On February 28 to April 18, 1888, one of the happiest interludes in the life of Rizal was his visit to the delightful land of cherry blossoms for 1 month and a half. He was enchanted by the natural beauties of Japan, the charming manners of the Japanese people, and the picturesque shrine. Moreover, he fell in love with a Japanese beauty named Osisan, whose loveliness infused joy and romance in his sorrowing heart. Fate, however, cut short his happy days in Japan. He had to sacrifice his own happiness to carry on his work for the redemption of his oppressed people. On February
22.
1888, Rizal left Hong Kong on board the Oceanic as an American steamer to his destination in Japan. Rizal arrived in Yokohama and he registered at Grand Hotel. And the next day, he proceeded to Tokyo and registered at Tokyo Hotel, where he stayed from March 2 to 7. He was impressed by the city of Tokyo. He wrote to Professor Blumentritt, Tokyo is more extensive than Paris. The walls are built in cyclopean manner. The streets are large and wide. Rizal in Tokyo. Shortly after Rizal arrived in Tokyo, he was visited at his hotel by Juan Perez Caballero, secretary of the Spanish legation. The latter invited him to live at the Spanish legation. No? Rizal, being an intelligent man, realized that Spanish diplomatic authorities were instruct from Manila to watch out his movements in Japan. No? He accepted the invitation for two reasons. First one, he could economize his living expenses by staying at the legation. And the second one, he had nothing to hide from the eyes of the Spanish authorities. At the Spanish legation, he and Perez Caballero became a good friend. In a letter to Blumentritt, he described the Spanish diplomatic as a young, fine, and excellent writer, and an able diplomat who had traveled much. During his first day in Tokyo, Rizal was embarrassed because he did not know the Japanese language. He looked like a Japanese but could not talk Japanese. He had a hard time shopping, for he could not be understand and the Japanese children laughed at him. Thus he wrote to Blumentritt, "Here you have your friend, Rizal, the wonder of the Japanese, who does the face of a Japanese but does not speak Japanese. On the street, when I go shopping, people look at me, and I'll educate children laugh because I speak such a strange language. In Tokyo, very few persons speak English, but in Yokohama, many speak it. Some believe I am a European as Japanese who does not want to be taken as such. To avoid further embarrassment, Rizal decided to study the Japanese language, which is the Nippongo. Being a born linguist, he was able to speak within a few days. He also studied the Japanese drama, which is the Kabuki arts, music, and also the Judo, the Japanese art of self-defense. He browsed in the museum, libraries, art galleries, and the shrine. He visited Meguro, Nikko, Hakone, Miyanoshita rather, and the charming village of the Japan. Rizal's impression of Japan. Rizal was favorably impressed by Japan. He was a keep observer taking copious notes of the life, costume, and cultures of the people. He had no silly light-headed tourists who merely enjoy attractive sight that appealed only the senses. The things which favorably impressed Rizal in Japan were the beauties of the country, its flower, mountains, streams, and these scenic panoramas. Second one is the cleanliness, politeness, and industry of the Japanese people. The third one is the picture picturesque dress or yung kasuotan ng mga Japanese people doon, yung mga babae. The simple charm of the Japanese woman. Where the few tips in Japan so that the house remain open day and night. And is hotel room, one can safely leave money on the table, no? Sa Japan daw is kahit mag-iwan ka ng pera sa isang tabi is hindi mawawala 'yon. The last one is the beggar were rarely seen in the city street unlike Manila and other cities. However, there is one thing which he did not like in Japan, and that was the popular mode of transportation by means of rickshaw drawn by men. His sensitive soul recalled seeing human beings working like a horse pulling the carts called rickshaw. He felt disgust the way a human being was employed like a horse, no? Kumbaga yung sa atin, kung yung kumbaga sa atin yung kung yung kalesa is kabayo yung naghihila doon, sa kanila naman is tao, which is yun yung hindi nagustuhan ni Rizal. Romance with Osisan. One spring morning in mid-March 1888, Rizal entered a big store in Yokohama to buy something. This was one of the biggest stores in the port city, which dealt on western goods and was owned by Usui-san, former samurai. A lovely young woman was then at the store at that time, saying that she seemed to be a member of the store staff. Rizal asked her if she knew English. She replied in affirmative. In fact, she was very fluent in three languages, which is the Japanese, English, and French. Rizal was glad to converse with her in English and in French. After buying what he needed, he left. He was impressed after the girl's cameo-like beauty, charming dress in and high intelligence. She had told him that her name's Seiko Usui, that she was the daughter of the store owner, and that she learned English and French from her private tutor. In succeeding days, Rizal made almost daily visit to the Usui store. He and the store owner's daughter became good friends. Osisan, her pet name, was then 23 years old, and Rizal, the brown-skinned doctor from Manila, was 29 years of age. In due time, their relationship bloomed into romance. The sweet scented cherry blossoms and the balmy, soft breezes. The romantic atmosphere of springtime contribute to amorous relationship. Osisan loved Rizal with all her heart. Her love was reciprocated by the latter. Lonely and homesick in a foreigner land, Rizal succumbed the siren call of romance. He was but human, endowed by God with emotion that respond normally to feminine charm and beauty. Rizal and Osisan spent a happy month visiting old temples and art galleries, walking along the cold meadows in the moonlight, sipping tea in a quiet country's tea houses, and uh, conversing beneath the lantern-landed branches of the cypress trees. Osisan was more than a hero's sweetheart. Being an artist and linguist, she taught Rizal the art of Japanese painting and improved his knowledge of Japanese language and literature. Rizal and Usishan, both theater addicts, attended several kabuki plays such as the Sendai Hagi, Manjiro ni Kahama, and Koshigura. Rizal was deeply moved by the chivalrous spirit of Amagawaya Gihe, hero of the play, uh, Koshigura, so that he painted a scene depicting his heroic death to save the life of the Lord. Position, beauty, and affection almost attempted Rizal to settle down in Japan. At the same time, he was offered a good job. If he were a man of less heroic mode, of less willpower, he would have lived permanently in Japan and happily at that what position, but then the world in general and the Philippines in particularly would have lost as a result. Rizal on Osisan results get love for Osisan. With this tenderly tragic enter in his own diary, Rizal bade farewell to Sayonara, Japan on April 13, 1888. Rizal boarded the Belgi, an English steamer at Yokohama bound for the United States. He left Japan with a heavy heart, for he would not see Ocean anymore. One of Rizal's fellow passengers was Tetsu Suhiro, a Japanese newspaperman who had a, who had been jailed twice for writing articles against the government. He did not know any foreign language so that he could not talk with other passengers. Rizal, who would fairly talk in Japanese, helped him and they became a good friend. These two kind souls, Rizal and Shuhiro, advocates of freedom. Both were valiant patriots, implacable enemies of injustice and tyranny. Rizal told Shuhiro, Spanish misrule in the Philippines, his efforts to defend his people from Spanish abuses, and his novel No Limit Tangere, which was banned by the Spanish authorities. Rizal and Suihiro, both exiles, traveled together across the Pacific through the United States and parted at London. Shuhiro admired Rizal for his kindness and genius. It was Rizal who taught him the Western way. Like Rizal, Shuhiro kept a diary of his travels under the date May 20, 1889. Of his diary, he mentioned how he bade farewell to Rizal in London. He was leaving London to sail back to Japan via France. He published his book entitled Deaf Traveler, in which he mentioned of his travel within Dr. Jose Rizal from Yokohama to London via America. The following year, he published his political novel Storm Over the Southern Sea, the plot of which was similar to Rizal's Noli. The hero was named Takayama, which was Ihara in the Noli. After Rizal executed on just December 30, 1896, amusing incident during Pacific crossing. Rizal had an amusing incident during a voyage across the Pacific. On board the Belgic, he met Mrs. Emma Jackson, a Filipino woman married to an Englishman. One of her children, a bright boy, used to converse with Rizal. One day, the boy asked Rizal, "Do you know a man in Manila named Rizal? He wrote the novel entitled Noli." Rizal replied, "Yes, I'm Rizal." The boy was delighted and told her mother about his discovery. Both mother and boy were happy to know Rizal felt proud to be with such a celebrity. Where Shuhiro mourned deeply, he became prominent in Japan journalistic and political circles. He grew rich as editor of Chuya Shinbun and later became a member of Japanese parliament.